Welcome to our channel. Today, we're going to explore some of the biggest environmental challenges our planet is facing, specifically focusing on the urgent issue of climate change. Stay with us until the end of the video. 030. Have you ever wondered what the greenhouse effect is? Imagine our planet wrapped in a giant, invisible blanket. This blanket is our atmosphere, and it's essential for life. It works like the glass of a greenhouse, letting sunlight in to warm the earth, but also trapping some of that heat to keep our planet at a comfortable temperature. Without this natural effect, Earth would be a frozen, uninhabitable world. The problem, however, arises when this blanket becomes too thick. This thickening is caused by an increase in certain gases in the atmosphere, known as greenhouse gases. The primary ones we hear about are carbon dioxide, or co-methane, which is C, and nitrous oxide, NaO. These gases are incredibly effective at trapping heat, and their concentration in the atmosphere has been rising dramatically. So, why are these greenhouse gases increasing at such an alarming rate? The main culprit is human activity. Since the Industrial Revolution, the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas to power our factories, generate electricity, and run our vehicles releases massive amounts of CO into the air. This single activity is the largest contributor to the enhanced greenhouse effect. Another significant factor is deforestation. Forests are the lungs of our planet, absorbing vast quantities of CO when we cut down trees on a massive scale for timber. Agriculture, or urban development, we not only stop that absorption but often release the carbon stored in the trees back into the atmosphere, especially if the wood is burned. Furthermore, modern agriculture and livestock farming play a major role. Fertilizers used in farming release nitrous oxide, a potent greenhouse gas. Livestock, particularly cattle, produce large amounts of methane during their digestive process. As the global population and demand for food grow, so do these emissions. To put this into perspective, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution just over 2 centuries ago, the concentration of CO in our atmosphere has increased by more than 50%. This unprecedented spike is trapping more and more heat, disrupting the delicate balance that has kept our planet stable for millennia. 230. This enhanced greenhouse effect leads directly to our second point: global warming. It's not a future prediction. It's a present-day reality confirmed by overwhelming scientific evidence. The excess heat trapped by greenhouse gases is causing the Earth's average temperature to rise. Globally, the average surface temperature has already risen by about 1.1 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. While that might not sound like a lot, it represents an enormous amount of stored energy in the Earth's system, and the consequences are profound. One of the most direct impacts we all feel is the increase in heat waves. These periods of extreme heat are becoming longer, more frequent, and dangerously hotter. They put immense strain on human health, agriculture, and infrastructure. As a stark example, the period from 2023 to 2024 has been officially recorded as the hottest in human history, shattering previous records month after month. These are not just statistics. They represent real-world events with life-threatening consequences for millions of people around the globe. Las cuatro. Porto. The warming of our planet leads us to another critical consequence: the rapid melting of polar ice and the subsequent rise in sea levels. The Earth's polar regions, the Arctic and Antarctica, are covered in vast ice sheets and glaciers that have been stable for thousands of years. These regions are now warming 2 to 3 times faster than the global average. As a result, this ice is melting at an unprecedented rate. Gigantic glaciers are retreating, and massive ice sheets are losing billions of tons of ice each year. This meltwater flows directly into the oceans, contributing to a rise in global sea levels. But that's only part of the story. As the oceans absorb over 90% of the extra heat trapped in the atmosphere, the water itself expands. This process, known as thermal expansion, is another major contributor to sea level rise. The combination of melting ice and thermal expansion is causing our oceans to creep higher up our coastlines. This poses an existential threat to low-lying coastal communities and entire island nations. For instance, nations like the Maldives, Tuvalu, and the Marshall Islands are at severe risk of being completely submerged underwater within this century, potentially displacing their entire populations and erasing entire cultures from the map. 6 o'clock, the extra energy in our climate system is also supercharging our weather, leading to a dramatic increase in extreme weather events. These events are becoming more frequent, more intense, and more destructive. First, let's look at storms. Warmer oceans act as fuel for hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones. The increased heat provides more energy, allowing these storms to grow stronger and more rapidly. They also carry more moisture, resulting in heavier rainfall and more devastating flooding when they make landfall. A tragic example of this is Super Typhoon Haiyan, one of the most powerful tropical cyclones ever recorded. When it struck the Philippines in 2013, it caused catastrophic damage, leading to thousands of deaths and widespread destruction. 7:30 at the other end of the spectrum. While some regions face too much water, others are facing not nearly enough. Climate change is exacerbating droughts, making them longer and more severe. Shifting weather patterns can disrupt seasonal rains, while higher temperatures increase evaporation from soil and water reservoirs. This leads to critical water shortages, affecting drinking water supplies, sanitation, and agriculture. When crops fail due to lack of water, it can trigger widespread food shortages and even famine. Many countries across Africa, for example, are currently grappling with severe and prolonged droughts that are affecting millions of people, pushing communities to the brink and creating a devastating food crisis. 9 o'clock, paradoxically. A warmer atmosphere can also lead to massive flooding. Warmer air has the capacity to hold more moisture, about 7% more for every degree Celsius of warming. This means that when it does rain, the rainfall can be much heavier, overwhelming natural river systems and man-made drainage infrastructure. We are seeing an increase in intense downpours and rain bomb events that cause flash floods and large-scale inundations. A harrowing recent example was the major floods in Pakistan in 2022, unprecedented. Monsoon rains submerged 1/3 of the country, affecting over 33 million people, destroying homes, and displacing millions in a climate-fueled humanitarian disaster. 10:30, finally, the deadly combination of heat and drought creates perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. Hotter, drier landscapes turn forests and grasslands into tinderboxes, ready to ignite from a single spark. Climate change is extending the wildfire season and increasing the area burned each year. These are not just small fires. They are megafires that burn with such intensity that they are nearly impossible to control. We have witnessed this with the uncontrolled wildfires that ravaged Australia and California in recent years. These fires destroyed millions of hectares of land, obliterated entire towns, killed billions of animals, and filled the air with hazardous smoke that traveled across continents, impacting the health of people thousands of miles away. 11:30. These cascading environmental crises pose a direct threat to both wildlife and humanity. Ecosystems around the world are struggling to adapt to the rapid pace of change. As habitats shrink or altered by warming temperatures, melting ice, or desertification, countless animal species are pushed to the brink of extinction. They simply cannot evolve or migrate fast enough to survive. A poignant example is the polar bear. These iconic Arctic predators rely on sea ice as a platform for hunting seals, their primary food source. As the Arctic sea ice disappears at a staggering rate, polar bears are literally starving. They are forced to travel longer distances to find food, often wandering into human settlements, and their populations are in sharp decline. They have become a powerful symbol of the vulnerability of wildlife in a warming world. For humans, the threats are just as dire. We are facing more frequent and intense natural disasters that destroy our homes and communities. We face the spread of diseases, as warmer temperatures allow insects like mosquitoes to expand their range, carrying illnesses like malaria and dengue fever to new regions. And we face the mass displacement of people, creating a new generation of climate refugees, forced to flee their homes due to rising seas, desertification, or resource scarcity. 13 o'clock, the picture is grim, but it is not without hope. The future is not yet written, and there is still a window of opportunity to act. So, what can we do? The solutions require a collective effort on a global scale, but they also begin with individual choices. First and foremost, we must transition away from fossil fuels and embrace renewable energy. By harnessing the power of the sun through solar panels and the wind through turbines, we can generate clean electricity without releasing greenhouse gases. Governments and corporations need to invest heavily in this transition. As individuals, we can make a difference in our daily lives. We can reduce our consumption, particularly of single-use plastics, and make a conscious effort to reuse and recycle more. Reducing waste lessens the demand for energy-intensive manufacturing processes. We can also help restore the planet's natural defenses. Planting more trees and protecting existing forests is one of the most effective ways to draw CO out of the atmosphere. Supporting reforestation projects and making sustainable consumer choices can help preserve these vital ecosystems. Our transportation choices also matter. Whenever possible, we can opt for eco-friendly transportation like walking, cycling, or using public transit. If we need a car, choosing an electric or hybrid vehicle can significantly reduce our carbon footprint. Every small action, when multiplied by millions of people, contributes to a monumental change. We must hold our leaders accountable and demand policies that prioritize the health of our planet. 1430 climate change is happening right now, but we still have a chance to save our planet. Let's protect Earth. Our one and only home. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help spread the message of protecting our planet. See you in the next video.